Hey everybody, I got an exciting video today for you, and it's a little bit different than the average video. So I'm trying to solve for a particular use case that I've recently come across with a client, and this was a very nice and elegant solution to help them. So enterprise customers typically have situations where there's other enterprise customers of theirs that, in other words, this is a large company dealing with another large company, or B2B. And so you've got people in the business. Now, I've always struggled with how do these Fortune 100 companies wind up using remedial tools, or simple tools like SharePoint lists and Excel spreadsheets when they're such a large company. Surely they've got enough resources for people to do with whatever. Turns out that's not the truth. The only truth of the matter is that they operate very similar to small businesses, except they just do it at scale. And you wind up running into situations again and again and again where lots of departments, or department to department, or division to division, they all work a little bit differently, even though they're under one hood. And so as a result, everybody's just trying to get their job done, right? And so they're just trying to put out a fire, and if there's no resources available, creative people that are going to step up, that want to contribute to their company to make a difference, they're going to do what they can. So I'm going to show you what you can do to make a difference and make this secure, so that you hopefully won't get into any issues with your security department or teams. Now, this being said, what I'm about to show you will scare the bejesus out of the majority of system administrators, as well as security analysts. But nonetheless, I am going to make this every bit as secure as possible, and it is highly secure in the fact that if they have any API keys in their company where they're using keys in order to get information, this is going to be the same. As a matter of fact, we're going to set a key length that's case sensitive to 99 characters. So most of the characters are only like 32, 64 on the higher end. We're going to go to the opposite. We're going to go 99 strength. All right. So what I want to show you here is a typical use case. It's not so much about the list, but I'm just showing you that I have a bunch of data inside of these, inside of this SharePoint list. The important thing to know is I'm grouping by status, okay? So I've got a plethora of these items in this list. 31 of them are waiting on customer. These are the actionable items. Everything else, like status closed, status in progress, and new, these are actionable as well, but they're not blocked. They're just following their normal process. The ones where the customer, and let's just say this is a single customer. I'm gonna make up names. I don't know, I'm Acme Incorporated selling to Billy Bob Incorporated. And so Billy Bob, being the customer of Acme, has, put all this stuff together, and they're constantly having to ask and complain about getting a status update on what's going on, or where things are. And so the customer service representative, or CSU, or they're called different things in different companies, but bottom line, somebody that's handling customer satisfaction is emailing a spreadsheet weekly or a bi-weekly status update, and they're having meetings over it. Well, what you can do is have their IT teams latch a hold of an API and pull stuff in real time that'll power a dashboard, or power something on their end that they can use to get the information. Or you can provide a publicly exposed web user interface where they can log in and get this data in other ways. But I'm going to show you the quick hack workaround way of dealing in Power Automate to get the customer this information with a secure API key. So all we want to do is get this awaiting information. Now, the column that we're dealing with again is called status. When you're programmatically using something in Power Apps, or Power Automate, or Power BI, it's extremely important to deal with the programmatic name. I'm going to show you a couple examples of this. We'll click on this cog. I'm going to go to the back end by going into the list settings. Now, I'm going to assume that you have access to get into behind the scenes. I want to show you this one column called city. This is the user-friendly display name. Now I want you to look up at the URL. I want to highlight these two areas. And field equals field 3. So what this means is that city is not called city programmatically. It's actually called just field _ 3. If you didn't go to the back end of this site, you would never know that it's there. This is a problem. So I'm going to show you another use case where we are going to filter on status. This is the friendly name, but notice my field name just happens to be status. There's reasons why this happens. I'm not going to get into that in this video, but just know that if you're programmatically going to access a column to do something with it, you need to make sure that you know what the programmatic name is. Otherwise, you're going to be banging your head against the wall trying to solve a problem that you feel is unsolvable. And this is how you figure this out, okay? So the column name actually is called status. I'm going to jump over here into Power Automate. I have a manually triggered flow. The first thing you want to do is a sanity check. Let's go ahead and get all the items from that SharePoint list. And under SharePoint, here's the get items. Okay, so now that we have that, let's configure the list. It happens to be on this Power Platform Lab, and my list is called accounts. Now underneath here, under advanced parameters, I have this thing called filter query. I'm going to go ahead and put a tick box so I can make an OData filter query. Remember I said that it was called status, and that was the name of the column. Another good practice is to just come over here and copy the name so that you make sure you get the case sensitivity dead on. And you put in here status, and you might be inclined to do this. Status equals, and then you put in double quotes, and then let's see, what is the name that we're looking for? We're looking for awaiting customer, and you might pop in something like that. This is wrong. Okay, let me show you how it's wrong in a couple of ways. We're dealing with an OData query. OData queries are not hard, they just are esoteric in nature, meaning that it's kind of hidden knowledge on how this works. So first of all, Power Automate doesn't like double quotes. Use a set of single quotes. So a single quote here and a single quote at the end. It is what depicts a string, so you're probably used to using double quotes elsewhere. It's not how you do it here in Power Automate. So this is a Power Automate thing, not necessarily an OData query thing. Now this part's an OData query thing. So for equals, we use the acronym EQ. It's an abbreviation, which is what acronyms are, for equals. If you wanted to do less than, you do LT. Less than and or greater, let's see, yeah. Less than or greater than, oh, sorry, not less than or greater than. What the heck was I trying to say? Less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. Okay, so this is what you use. So if you're used to doing like not equals, and which is NE, I think it is. Yep, NE for not equals. And then you've got all the other ones. Anyway, so we're just dealing with equals. So we want EQ, status EQ, awaiting customer. All right, I'm going to hit save. We're going to run a test. As soon as this saves, I don't know why it takes forever to save. All right, let's give it a whirl. Click manually, click test, click run flow. Life should be good. All green check marks across the way, and we're all looking good, or so we think. All right, so now we've got this. Let's verify and do a spot check. Let's look at the output, and we can ignore all this stuff up at the headers. This is all just garbly-gook. What we want is under this body value, and we want to look for status. And here we see awaiting customer. Now, if we use our cursor and highlight and cover this, something interesting will happen. I'm using Chrome, so in case this is browser specific, just know that I'm using Chrome if this doesn't work for you. It should work in Edge because it's Chromium, which is based on the Chrome. Anyway, the point is we see awaiting customer here, and then I'm just going to spot check, just randomly go down the list and make sure that I'm not finding anything other than what I'm expecting. And so I see awaiting customer all through the list here. Okay, so I'm pretty confident that what I've got here is exactly what I'm looking for. Now what we need to do is turn this solution that we've got here into an API. It's very easily done. A couple things that we want to do is we want to do a setup. Let's add an action, let's add a control, and let's add this condition here. Okay, and let's move this condition into, well, actually let's leave it here. All right, now that we've got that piece here, what I want to do is I want to right click and delete this because we're going to replace the trigger. And what we're going to replace the trigger with is something called a request, because you make a request to the API. So request is under this request item here. When an HTTP request is received, that's exactly what we want, okay? And so here's something important. This is where your security teams are going to freak out, but we're going to fix in a minute. You're going to take this and you're not going to secure this with anybody in your tenant or anyone inside of your tenant or any specific users inside of your tenant. You're going to open it up to the world, and your customers would freak too. but we're going to fix that. Okay, so anyway, we want to open this up to the world, but then what we want to do is provide something called a customer key here. So we'll do quote quote colon quote quote, and we'll do cust key, and then we'll do something really stupid like 1 2 3 4, right? That's not secure. Don't worry, we're going to secure this. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to cut it out, and now what I want to do is click this use sample payload to generate schema. I want to paste in this skinny little box what I just copied out. The reason for that is it's going to take this and it's going to kind of make it into something like Swagger, and it's going to create a definition or a schema for it. And all this does is this helps us down the road. So now when we jump down to this condition, we can actually do what we were putting up there, the cust key thing, right? So we can choose from the dynamic value now our customer key. See, there's our cust key. When an HTTP request is received, we want this, and we want to equal to. Now we need to fill in some really long thing. You can use an online generator. You can use, there's lots of them out there. I'm going to use this LastPass because it's quick and easy. Here is 99 strength characters, lowercase, uppercase, numbers, and randomized symbols. So we got a really nice long key. I'm going to paste that key into here. So if the customer key is equal to this, then I want you to go ahead and give me my data. Well, first we need to run the query. Well, let's open this up. All right, something's gone wonky here. Here we go. Let's put this in the true box. All right. Now we got this to the point where if this passes, we're going to get the data. So let's first fix this. Let's add an action. Let's do a response because we need to give something back to the person. This means that the key is bad, right? So we'll do a response, still under request, but there's an action item called response. And we're going to change this to 401. That's basically unauthorized. We're going to do that same trick again where we're going to put in quote quote and quote quote separated by this colon, and we're going to do error message. You are not authorized. Okay, so here's the message. Here is the code. I'm going to copy this out. Let's go down to here. Let's check this on because we want to format it. And we're going to go and do that same thing again. We're going to paste this in here. We're going to do done. So now this has the right response schema because we're hand typing this. So we'll just do it just like this. All right, so this is good. Now what we need to come over here and do the same side for the true. Now we won't have to change the response code because out of the gate, all responses are 200 unless we override it, which is what we needed to do if they didn't provide a correct key. So again, we're going to look for response. Here's another response. And so now 200 means good. Life is good, right? We don't need to format this because we already have it. And what we're going to do is we're going to grab the output from this get items. So under the dynamic values, we're going to pick from get items, body value. Remember, this is body is just going to give us a different list. We want the list of items from body value. So we're going to provide that here. And at this point, I'm going to hit save. And as soon as I hit save, something magical will happen up here. So now we're going to come up here. And now we have this endpoint that we're going to be able to use for testing. To test this, I'm going to use an application called Postman. Okay, so I'm going to remove this key. I'm going to remove this key, and I'm going to go back and we're going to set all this up again. So we're going to copy this out. We're going to put this up here, and this is for testing. This isn't something you're going to have to do, but you should at least test what you're doing. All right, now I need to go back and grab that key again because I need this key to be exact. All right, and I screwed up. I did something wrong. Let's do it again. Okay, so it ends with the number 4, and then we have an uppercase H. Let's remove the H. Let's save this. Let's test this. Let's see what happens. I get a you are not authorized, and it's because, again, I removed the H. Let me put a lowercase h. Hit save, hit send. Again, you are not authorized. Well, the H is right, but it's the wrong case. So if I'll do capital H this time, hit save, hit send. And now all of a sudden I have the proper payload with all of the data that I'm looking for. This data is equivalent to literally looking over here at this data from this perspective, only all 31 records. So now the customer is able to make an inquiry all day long as users go through this SharePoint list, massage and update the data. There's going to be new items that come in. There's going to be new items that fall off. You don't have to have weekly status updates. You don't have to attend boring meetings. Their IT teams can simply consume your data from your SharePoint list simply by using a Power Automate simple flow. By circling back, you're able to give proper HTTP response codes of 200 and 401, whether they're authorized or not. You have a 99 key length case sensitivity that uses characters, that uses all this other stuff. Now, if you do something stupid like 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, it's going to be dumb. And that's going to be insecure. Like, that would be crazy, right? So I will disclaim, do not, even if you have permissions to do it, double check with your security team, double check with your IT. It's better to ask for permission in this case than to get fired. So I don't want anybody losing their jobs because I shared some information that could cause harm to yourself as well as your company that you work for, okay? We all work hard for our money and we don't want to lose it. So let's make sure we try to protect everything that and everyone that we can. All right, so that being said, use this knowledge responsibly. Make sure you set up your keys properly. Make sure make sure you have an ALM procedure. Just because it works in dev doesn't mean it'll work in production. And work with your customer to make sure that, hey, listen, not only do you use this, let me help you get this set up. That way you know that their customer is not going to have any problems and you'll have a great user experience and continue to foster and build these relationships with your customers. Make them super happy. All right, guys, that's it for this video. I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.